Jungwon was the kind of man people were afraid to look at for too long. As one of the most powerful mafia bosses in the city, his name alone was enough to make people lower their voices. He was cold, calculating, and dangerous when dealing with his enemies. But there was one person who knew a completely different side of him. Ryan was his wife. He remembered the smallest things about her, noticed when she was tired, made sure she ate properly, and never allowed anyone to treat her badly. He was especially protective when it came to her health. Even a tiny cut on her finger could make him frown and ask how it happened. That was exactly why Ryan had been nervous all day. She had finally gathered enough courage to get it done, but she had not told Jungwon, not because she thought he would forbid her. She knew he respected her choices. She was simply worried because Jungwon hated seeing her hurt herself, even a little. Once, when she had accidentally burned her finger while cooking, he had looked more upset. So Ryan already knew what his reaction might be. That night she stood in front of the mirror adjusting her sweater nervously. The tiny silver jewelry at her waist was hidden beneath her clothes. Ryan, maybe I should tell him before he noticed. She sighed. Ryan, no, he'll worry. Just then she heard the front door open. Her heart immediately jumped. Jamun was home. She quietly pulled her sweater down and walked toward the living room. Jungwon entered a few seconds later, removing his coat while speaking to one of his men on the phone. The moment he noticed Ryan waiting for him, his expression softened. Jungwon, you waited for me? Ryan, of course. Without saying anything, he wrapped his arms around her and pulled her into a warm hug. Jungwon, I missed you. Ryan smiled against his chest. Ryan, you were only gone since morning. Jungwon, that's long enough. She laughed softly. Jungwon kissed the top of her head before pulling her back and looking at her face. Jungwon, properly? Ryan, yes, husband. He narrowed his eyes playfully. Jungwon, you are hiding something. Ryan froze. Ryan, what? Jungwon, you become extra sweet when you are nervous. Ryan quickly looked away. Ryan, I'm not nervous. Jungwon smiled slightly. Jungwon, you are terrible at lying. Okay, come, eat with me too. He did not push her, instead, he took her hand and led her toward the dining table. They had dinner together and Ryan slowly relaxed. Jungwon talked about his day while she listened, occasionally laughing at the little comments he made. He stopped talking. Ryan noticed his silence and slowly looked down. Her heart dropped. She quickly pulled her sweater back into place. Jungwon, Ryan. His voice was not angry, but it was serious. Ryan, yes. Jungwon, what was that? Ryan, nothing. Jungwon, nothing doesn't usually spark. Ryan could not help laughing nervously. Ryan, it's just. She took a deep breath. Ryan, a piercing. Jungwon stared at her. For several seconds he said nothing. Ryan immediately started worrying. Ryan, please don't be angry. Jungwon, why would I be angry? Ryan, because I didn't tell you. Jungwon, I'm not upset that you didn't tell me. He stepped closer. Jungwon, I am worried that it hurt you. Ryan blinked. That was exactly what she had expected. Ryan, it hurt a little. Jungwon's eyebrows immediately pulled together. Jungwon, a little? Ryan, only for a moment. Jungwon, and you just decided to let someone pierce you? Ryan, I wanted it. He sighed, but there was no anger in his voice. He gently placed his hand around her waist, careful not to touch the piercing. Jungwon, does it hurt now? Ryan, no. Jungwon, are you sure? Ryan, yes. He looked at her for another moment before finally relaxing. Jungwon, okay. Ryan, you're not angry? Jungwon, no. Ryan, really? Jungwon, really. Then his eyes moved toward her waist again. He became quiet. Ryan noticed. Ryan, what? Jungwon, can I see it? She hesitated before slowly lifting her swagger just enough to show him. Jungwon's expression changed. The tiny silver jewelry caught the warm light from the room. He stared at it with surprising curiosity. Ryan, you can say it looks bad. Jungwon, I didn't say that. Ryan, you're staring. Jungwon, I'm looking. Ryan, for a long time. A small smile appeared on his face. Jungwon, it's pretty. Ryan, you like it? Jungwon, I think so. He carefully moved his hand closer and stopped before touching it. Jungwon, can I? Ryan nodded. His fingertip gently touched the jewelry, making sure not to press against the skin. Ryan watched his expression. There was no disgust or anger, only fascination. Jungwon, it's smaller than I expected. Ryan, that's because I wanted it something simple. Jungwon, it suits you. Ryan smiled. Ryan, I was so scared that you would be angry. Jungwon looked at her. Jungwon, I would never be angry because you wanted something for yourself. He gently brushed his thumb over the waist, avoiding the sensitive area. Jungwon, I just don't like knowing you were in pain. Ryan, I am good. Jungwon, good? He leaned down and kissed her forehead. Then his gaze dropped toward the tiny piece of jewelry again. Ryan immediately noticed. Ryan, you're staring again. Jungwon, I know. Ryan laughed. Why? Jungwon, I don't know. He gently touched it once more, almost as if he were fascinated by how something small had caught his attention so quickly. Jungwon, maybe I'm just getting used to it. Ryan, you better get used to it quickly. Jungwon smiled. Jungwon, I'm starting to think that won't be difficult. Later that night they sat on the sofa. His hand rested around her waist, and every now and then his finger lightly brushed the fabric near her piercing. Ryan noticed it happening several times. Finally she looked up. Ryan, Jungwon? Jungwon, Ryan, you're doing it again. He looked innocent. Jungwon, doing what? Ryan, touching it. He glanced toward at his hand and smiled. Jungwon, oh, Ryan, you didn't even realize? Jungwon, maybe I did. She narrowed her eyes. Ryan, you are already obsessed. Jungwon laughed softly. Jungwon, that's a strong word. Ryan, then stop touching it. Jungwon immediately removed his hand. Jungwon, okay. Ryan smiled proudly, but only a few seconds later his hand slowly returned to her waist. She burst out laughing. Ryan, Jungwon, he laughed too, pulling her closer. Jungwon, I tried. Ryan, for 5 seconds. Jungwon, it was difficult. Ryan shook her head, smiling against his chest. She had spent the entire day worrying that Jungwon would be angry. Instead, she had discovered something much more amusing. The terrifying mafia boss everyone feared had apparently found a new favorite little detail about his wife, and judging by the way he kept looking at that tiny sparkle, Ryan had the feeling his obsession had only just begun. After that night, Ryan quickly realized that Jungwon's fascination with her piercing was not going away. In fact, it was getting worse. Jungwon rested his chin on her shoulder, still sleepy. Jungwon, good morning. Ryan, good morning. His hand slowly moved toward her waist, and before he could touch the little jewelry, Ryan caught his wrist. Ryan, don't. Jungwon looked at her through the mirror. Jungwon, I wasn't doing anything. Ryan, you were. Jungwon smiled. Jungwon, maybe I just wanted to see it. Ryan, you saw it last night. Jungwon, that was last night. Ryan laughed and turned around. Ryan, you are seriously obsessed with it. Jungwon, I told you, I'm still getting used to it. Ryan, you have days to get used to it. Jungwon, and I have been choosing those days wisely. She rolled her eyes, but she could not stop smiling. Later that afternoon, Ryan wore a simple crop top while relaxing at home. The moment Jungwon entered the room, his eyes immediately went to her waist. Ryan noticed. Ryan, again? Jungwon, what? Ryan, your eyes. Jungwon tried to look away. Jungwon, I'm looking at my wife. Ryan, you are looking at my piercing. Jungwon, they are both in the same place. Ryan burst out laughing. She walked toward him and deliberately stood in front of him. Ryan, so what do you like about it? Jungwon looked at the tiny silver jewelry before gently placing his hand near her waist. Jungwon, it's cute. Ryan, just cute? Jungwon, very cute. He leaned down and gave the little jewelry a quick, affectionate kiss before looking back at her. Ryan immediately covered her face. Ryan, Jungwon. He laughed. Jungwon, what? Ryan, you kissed it. Jungwon, yes. Ryan, why? Jungwon, because I wanted to. She shook her head, trying not to smile. Ryan, you're impossible. Jungwon pulled her closer. Jungwon, and you're enjoying it. Ryan, maybe a little. He smiled and kissed her forehead. Jungwon, good. Ryan resting her head against his chest. For a few quiet moments, they simply stayed like that. The man who was feared by hundreds of people was standing in his living room, holding his wife as carefully as if she were the most precious thing in the world. Ryan suddenly looked up. Ryan, I really thought you would be angry when you first saw it. Jungwon smiled his big slightly. Jungwon, I have told you already I was never angry. Ryan, I know that now. Jungwon gently touched her waist. Jungwon, I just hate seeing you hurt. Ryan, it was worth it. Jungwon, why? Ryan smiled. Ryan, because now I get to watch the scary mafia boss become completely shy over one tiny piece of jewelry. Jungwon stared at her. Jungwon, Shy? Wine. Very. He raised an eyebrow before pulling her closer. Jungwon, you really like teasing me. Wine. I do. Jungwon leaned closer and kissed her softly. It was gentle and warm, making her smile against his lips. When they pulled apart, Jungwon rested his forehead against hers. Jungwon, then I'll give you something else to tease me about. Why? What? He gave her a small smile and kissed her forehead again before gently kissing the little piercing one more time. Jungwon, this is officially my favorite thing now. Wyan laughed. Wyan, I knew it. Jungwon, but don't get too proud. Wyan, why? Jungwon, because you're still my favorite part. Her teasing expression immediately softened. Wyan, that was actually sweet. Jungwon, I am capable of being sweet. Wyan, only with me. Jungwon smiled and grabbed his arms around her. Jungwon, always only with you. And somehow Wyan knew that the tiny sparkle around her waist had become more than just a piercing. It had become another little thing that belonged to their private world, one that made her terrifying husband smile every time he noticed it. A few days later, Wyan came home to find Jungwon sitting on the edge of their bed with several tiny boxes arranged in front of him. She stopped at the doorway. Wyan, what's all this? Jungwon looked up with a completely innocent expression. Jungwon, nothing. Wyan walked closer and opened one of those boxes. Inside was a tiny sparkling diamond piercing. She opened another one, then another, and another. Wyan stared at him in disbelief. Wyan, Jungwon? Jungwon, Wyan, why did you buy so many? He looked at the little collecting proudly. Jungwon, I could not decide which one would look best on you. Wyan laughed. Wyan, you bought all of them. Jungwon, yes. Wyan, there are so many. Jungwon, I know. She picked up a tiny heart-shaped one and smiled. Wyan, this one is cute. Jungwon immediately took it from her. Jungwon, then this one is my favorite. Wyan, I said it's cute. I didn't say I was wearing it. Jungwon gave her a playful look. Jungwon, you don't have to wear all of them. Wyan, good. Jungwon, just most of them. She burst out laughing and lightly hit his shoulder. Wyan, you're ridiculous. Jungwon caught her hand and pulled her closer. Jungwon, I just like buying things for you that make you happy. Her smile softened. Wyan, you could have just bought me flowers. Jungwon, I did. Wyan looked around. Wyan, where? Jungwon pointed toward the backside table where a beautiful bouquet was waiting. Jungwon, those were for you too. Wyan smiled and grabbed her arms around his neck. Wyan, you're too sweet. Jungwon, only for my baby. She giggled before he pulled her into a warm hug. Jungwon, but seriously, choose whichever one you like. Why? And if I don't choose any? Jungwon, then I'll keep buying cute ones until you do. Why? Jungwon? He laughed and kissed her forehead. Jungwon, what? I told you, I have a weakness. She smiled and rested her head against his chest. Why? And what exactly is your weakness? He looked down at her with a soft smile. Jungwon, you. The piercing is just an excuse to spoil you. Wyan could not help smiling as he hugged her tighter. For all his money, power, and dangerous reputation, Jungwon had discovered something much more important.